Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Sheepy Noob.
He's not here.
I didn't know what to do without him there.
And I'm NV Jitters. When one person's missing, the whole feng shui is off.
This
Yeah.
is why it's good for me. I like being first because I never screw up.
That's true.
So it's a good time.
I mean, usually I'm the one who stutters because it's a lot of times like Yin is the one that isn't here. So
Yeah, plus, Discord sometimes it's like a bit of a delay. You can't tell, did they cut out? Did they say something? Are they not there? Like, just, okay, what's a good amount of time? Yeah, so fun stuff, dealing with the technology of today. So, what are we here to do today? We're here to talk about anime, but first, what are you here doing? What are you doing here? Viewer at home, I'll tell you what you should be doing. You should be subscribing to I'm trying to do it like everybody else does. Subscribe, hit like, comment, tell us what your favorite sandwich is, that sort of thing. I don't care, do you like sourdough? I like sourdough. We're
that's
here
a bread,
to talk.
not a sandwich.
Hey, you use sourdough to make a good sandwich. That's what you do. Yes. I don't know. This can be a sandwich podcast we want. What do you guys think about a Cuban sandwich? I like that. You get the pulled pork, mustard. Kind of like, I enjoy that kind of thing. How about you guys?
I'm not a pulled pork person, so
Really?
It's not a sandwich for me.
You live where we live and you don't like pulled pork.
Yes, because it smells like certain things.
What
and that's all I
things?
will say. Do you want to know?
I mean, I'm asking.
I'll tell you later.
Goodness.
Oh.
This is like, we're gonna get into some repressed chibi memories, I think.
No,
Anywho,
it's not repressed. It's just gross, and I don't want to make people throw up.
speaking of gross, repressed, and I think puberty might have been somewhere in there, we watched Fooly Cooly this week. And that's, I mean, what else can you say about it? It was my number 3 pick for my favorite anime of all time, I guess. Or at least of right now. I think I made the caveat of, like, it's ever-changing, but these are usually on my top 5. So what did you guys, we actually watched the whole thing. Because it's actually very short. It's 6 episodes, so if you haven't seen it, go check a look at it. What did you guys think about it? I think this is my moment to take a step back and see what everybody else felt. I feel like I put a lot of my own stuff into when we actually did the full video on this.
So for me, I've watched this a few times now. So when I first watched it, I was watching it with my roommate for my freshman year of college, because she was from Japan, and she was trying to, like, one of the ways that she would learn English was watching, basically dubbed anime, because she basically knew what was going on from the Japanese. So she would watch the English dubs so she could try and, like, sort of learn how it was translated, which it's more of a localization than a direct translation, but that's just a minor thing, really.
Did she do it to learn English, or did she do it because she was a woman of culture?
She did it to learn English, mostly because it was just a thing. It was a medium that she knew, and it was just a thing. I don't think she would have watched Fooly Cooly otherwise. But
She didn't seem to know what South Park was. So, yeah, might not have been her genre.
No, from what I remember, one of the animes that she did have me watch was Kimi no Toroke, which is definitely like shoujo slice of life romance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
This is not this.
no, definitely not. So I guess because it's more metaphorical, I didn't really understand what it was doing at first. Because it's a lot of, like, really sort of absurdist kind of comedy and visuals to go along with whatever the story is. So I was more than a little confused as an 18-year-old who really only ever watched anime that had, like, a really concrete and straightforward storyline and didn't really have, like, any underlying metaphors or whatever that it was trying to tell you through the visuals. Upon a second watch, I kind of got what it was doing a little bit more. I think because at that time I was rooming with an animation major who was kind of a bit more like understood what was going on, and I was like, okay, I kind of understand what's going on here now. So I mean, I liked it a bit better upon a second watch. First time I was just very confused.
When I first watched this, I was in college too, and you guys know that I didn't really know a lot about anime growing up, but one of the few series that I did hear about often growing up was Fooly Cooly. People were saying that it's the anime that doesn't make sense. It's so absurd. It's so obscene. And when we watched it was Fooly Cooly for me. Well, not Fooly, not to me, but like Fooly Cooly growing up, I heard from so many people that it was just insanity. It didn't make any sense. It just was this wacky, insane animation. You couldn't tell what's going on, stuff like that. And yeah, it kind of lived up to that to me. I'll be completely honest. I'm not going to try and ruin on Al's Parade because, again, it's one of his favorite shows, and I respect the show more than I like it. I think it's well made. I think it's well animated, and when he was talking about, the underlying messages of the show that I never really got when I first watched it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But for some reason, I don't know why, it just felt weird to me. Like the message. And here's the thing: I watch JoJo. I'm used to bizarre shit, but I don't know, for just some reason, it just felt really over the top weird. Like there were certain points later on where I was
just to make sure that everyone at home understands what's going on. A JoJo fan is saying my anime is too over the top. Okay.
Wow.
No, that's why I said I respect it, because I could totally understand why a lot of people would like it, and a lot of people would like the absurdity and the deeper meanings behind it. It was just one of those things where I was just, half the time I was just watching, looking at the pretty images, and I was just like, oh, it was a stupid American. It's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just sitting back and just letting it take me. It's basically
No, keep going.
It's basically how I was at the end of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I do like that movie a lot, but towards the end of that movie, I was just like, okay, it can do whatever it wants. I won't question it anymore. That's kind of how I was at the end of this show. It's like, okay, this show can do whatever it wants now. I'm good now.
So I think it's more the fact that, like, we as Americans, when we watch anime, we don't necessarily always watch anime as a piece of art. We watch anime because it's an anime.
Because it's just a piece of entertainment?
Yes.
Okay.
We watch it more for, getting, like, entertainment value out of it, rather than, like, analyzing it as, like, a piece of art where it's trying to tell a message through an animated visual medium. So that's honestly,
and I still do that from time to time.
What?
I said sometimes I do that when I watch a show. Like there's
I would say sometimes I do that too, but at the same time, when it's a show that's mostly known for just a really bizarre sort of storyline and visuals, not necessarily are you watching it for the artistic value.
And again, I'm not trying to, say the show is bad. Far from it. I can totally see that I'm in the minority, that, for people that actually watch the show, the majority of people like it a lot, and more power to them. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying, that
I'm not saying that you're hating on it. I'm just saying that as Americans and as anime consumers who watch anime for entertainment specifically, we just don't get it sometimes. Anyway.
I will agree with that sometimes you just have situations where, like, I think one issue that the show does have, probably with getting people to, get what's going on, is that it uses a lot of humor that doesn't always translate. And I just think that's part of it, because it is, I think, primarily a comedy series, and that is such a hit and miss thing over here, because yeah, sometimes you use puns, or you use certain turn of phrase, or you use whatever that makes total sense in Japanese, but when you translate it or you try to find some sort of equivalent in English and you localize it, doesn't always make sense. I think a lot of the visual gags and stuff still work in Fooly Cooly, but like if you look at some, say like the manga scenes from episode 1 and 6, they're making jokes there that when written out in Japanese, I'm sure are funny, and like they're clearly trying to do this like, I just kind of missed what you were saying a little bit. Like this word sounds like this word. I don't think it works that well here because I don't know that we often use that humor as much. But yeah, maybe it was very fun over there. I didn't particularly find that funny, but like I can see how sometimes you could have issues with that as far as watching it in English.
I mean, I will say, you were saying about how I could how I thought this was over the top compared to JoJo. Let me try to explain myself a little bit with that, because yeah, obviously JoJo is incredibly over the top and stupid. I get that. I can understand why some people might not like JoJo. I think for me, the big difference between JoJo and Fooly Cooly is that Fooly Cooly's humor and physical comedy, it was very fast paced most of the time. Like half the time you don't even breathe in between jokes and in between the scenes. Whereas JoJo, for how absurd the premise and the stands are, they do spend a lot of time explaining how the stands work, how the Stardust Crusaders or the Team JoJo, how they'll defeat the stand user, and it's basically Dragon Ball Villain of the Week except with stands and powers, and they explain their time, how they basically explain,
they go full shonen.
They basically that they fully explain the situation that they're in. So it's, well, obviously not going to be understandable for everyone. It makes it a little bit more easier to grasp. Where, like obviously I'm not spoiling anything, but when the girl hits the guy in the head, and then a giant skyscraper comes out of a giant bump in his head, I'm just like, okay. I know they explain it on later on, but like at that moment where it just happens, I was just like, wait, what the hell is going on? What is going on?
I think
like she literally whacked him in the head with a guitar, and then a bump appeared on his head, and then shit comes out of the bump in his head.
I'll say more on that a little bit later. I think we've been we've been kind of pushing someone aside. Yin, what did you initially think?
I had kind of mixed feelings overall. I think I like it in general. I think the animation is really nice, and I like the creative ways that they change the animation, depending on the scene or the gag or whatever's going on. I think they did a really amazing job with like some of the visuals. I think the themes were pretty, I don't know, it seemed pretty clear to me that it was like about puberty and growing up and all of that. Sometimes it was maybe a little bit too blatant for my taste. I mean, he literally like grows a horn out of his, I don't know, it's like horniness or whatever. I don't know. It's like pretty obvious like what the double entendres were most of the time, but
especially in the translation and the dub.
They really like pushed it hard.
That probably could have been a line.
Yeah.
God, you're pushing it so hard.
Yeah. It was, like, kind of funny, but, you know, like, not always to my taste, necessarily, but I think it was well done. Sometimes the characters I wasn't so sure about. I liked Naoto a lot. I think that was the main character. But I don't know. I'm not very nuts about the girl who sweeps into the sad boy's life and changes it for the better and brightens his life and makes it more exciting, and
call
then
her what she is.
Rides away on the wind at the end.
What is she?
Manic Pixie
the Manic
Dream
Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah, I'm not always nuts about that trope, and I think, like, it would be wrong to say all quirky female characters fall into that trope, because I don't think that's true. I've seen a lot that don't and are really good characters.
I mean, they just are if they come in just to fix your life and then leave.
This girl, like, doesn't have any other purpose.
I don't know. To some degree, I kind of almost feel like she's a bit of, like, the dark side of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Because, like, yeah, she comes in, she leaves with, like, no consequences to her or whatever, or does that. But she wrecks the entire world, basically.
Yeah.
But I think for, like, him as a character, though, I think he wanted to not feel so bored anymore and stuff like that. I think for, like, I don't know, the world didn't seem to matter so much in the story. I think it was about him as a character.
True, but she kind of went and did the same thing to that other guy who shows up in episode, like, 4 or 5, and he apparently went through the same thing Naota did, and she, like, wrecked his life.
I can kind of see what you're saying, but I don't feel like it wrecked Naoto's life.
Okay, he got lucky.
Yeah, maybe he got lucky, but I think, like, I don't know, it was about his growth, and I feel like she was there to facilitate his growth, and that worked fine, but like I said, I'm just not always personally, like, crazy about that kind of trope. But I think it worked fine in the context of the narrative or whatever for what they were going for. And I think overall I liked it, but sometimes I found myself checking out a little bit. Maybe just because the relationships and stuff kind of, like, fell flat for me sometimes, or didn't feel particularly real, or, like, they didn't slow down very much for me to feel something that was really poignant and really, like, meaningful. Whereas I feel like with a coming-of-age story, I want to feel that, and sometimes I just didn't feel it because they were just moving on to the next, like, sight gag or visual gag or whatever. So I think sometimes, like, I love coming-of-age stories, and I also love trippy stories, and I feel like it was, like, a combination of that, so I should have loved it, and I just kind of liked it. So I don't know, it just wasn't exactly, like, maybe what I would have necessarily. I don't know why I didn't attach to it so much, because on paper it is something I would really love, but I still thought it was pretty good. I think it's really well made. I just maybe didn't connect to it as much, and maybe if I watched it again I would connect to it better or something, but upon first watch I was kind of like, I like this but I don't love it kind of thing.
I'm kind of wondering if we should, like, watch Welcome to the NHK, because that's kind of like a coming-of-age trippy thing, too.
I've seen some of that, yeah. That was pretty interesting.
What was, I think, Chibi, you were trying to say something, or was Envy?
I mean, I was kind of sort of going to say something else about, God, I forget what the other girl character's name was.
Mamimi?
Yeah, Mamimi. So, like, I think they're, like, they kind of pulled two different kinds of girls that kind of show up in a guy's life. Like, the manic pixie dream girl, quote unquote. And then also just, like, the girl who kind of, like, I don't know, I guess wants to be saved is kind of how I interpreted Mamimi's character a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate, but
I'd say that's probably pretty accurate.
Okay. So it was just like it introduced these two kinds of characters that I feel like, I guess, a young teenage boy would kind of, find attractive, I guess.
Yeah.
One that really changes the life, and then the one who is in need of saving, and he wants to, like, either be the one to, like, help her or, like, put her back together or salvage whatever's, there that can still be salvaged with her life, because, she's not exactly, like...
She's not well.
Yeah. Am I explaining this properly? I feel like I'm kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt that way too. I definitely felt like there was a contrast between the girls, and it was definitely like, I don't know, like they were both like these older girls that I think he found desirable for different reasons, and I could understand that on like the metaphorical level. Like you could definitely see, like, at first it seems kind of creepy that like the adult is hitting on this kid, but then I'm like, okay, it's like the kind of dream of the perfect older woman who takes you on an adventure kind of thing, that a middle schooler would have. So I was like, you know what? Lots of middle schoolers have this fantasy, and it's kind of like that fantasy brought to life in a way.
Yep.
I mean, the one girl basically was using him because she was going out with his older brother, and she's like, well,
I
the
really
older brother's not
that,
there.
Though.
Yeah,
like, I kind of questioned whether she was, or whether that was just like in her head, a little bit.
Well,
or
regardless
if she was just saying it.
Yeah, like she might have just hung around him a lot because, like, it's kind of implied that I don't know if they said it or not, but I think it's at least implied that she set the school on fire.
Yeah.
Because I don't know all the details of what's going on with her. Her home life is apparently not very good. She's not having a good time in school and socializing with people. I don't know if she, like, might be in a bit of a... She doesn't seem very mature for her age.
She's in a bit of a troubled spot right now.
I'm almost wondering if it's a bit of a state of arrested development a little bit.
Maybe.
But, and that might be why she's hanging out, like another reason why she feels so comfortable hanging out with a kid.
Plus,
outside of the fact that she was clearly infatuated with the brother.
It was the brother.
I just thought like she was I just thought that she was using him because like, well, if I can't go out with his brother, then I'll just hang out with his little brother or something like that.
That was definitely part of it.
And then the little brother's like, well, shit, this older woman likes me. Well, shit, I'm in the clear now. And then eventually the whole series is him, I guess, while dealing with his puberty stuff, he eventually falls in love with the main girl or something like that. So, yeah, I guess it's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry.
Haruko,
yeah. I did like her as a character. I did like her. I thought, she was insane in all the right ways. And yeah, she does kick a lot of ass in the show. And yeah, I did like her.
Perfectly encapsulated ball of chaos.
Yep.
Trying to think here. I feel like I spoke pretty extensively in the other episode about like my experience watching this and why I had liked it and why I kind of wanted to watch it when I was younger. So trying to think here. I mean, I don't know. Do we need to go into like the actual plot elements of what happens to the kid?
I mean,
probably a little late in the episode at this point, but
yeah. I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen the Fooly Cooly episode, or either is just watching this for the first time, for watching anime yay or nay, I don't know how many people would actually, not have watched the show before watching a thing talking about it, but
I don't know. We're not really like a review recommendation show. We're more of like a retrospective kind of thing. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What would be a good like area to talk about?
You could give us your thoughts now, like as an adult.
I was just about to ask you that. How did rewatching it and its messages compared? How did it affect you compared to when you first watched it years ago as like a teenager or as a young kid?
I'd say it's kind of like rewatching. It's like rereading a book that had an effect on you from a younger age. I mean, I knew the message going in. I was reminded of a lot of it. But at the same time, it's something I kind of already learned. But it's nice to revisit. It doesn't impact me as much as it did the first time, obviously. But, it still holds up to me for the reasons that I enjoyed it. Some of the humor at my current age is a little bit cringy at times, but it's still enjoyable in a lot of ways. I think it's just because like I'm realizing, wow, that kid is really young compared to when I first watched this.
Yeah, isn't he like 12?
12, somewhere to 11 or 12, something like that.
Yeah, I think he was 12.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like.
I mean, he's in 6th grade.
Yeah, he's just finishing up elementary school.
Yeah.
In Japan, so.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And isn't like Haruko 18 and the other girl 17, something
20?
like that? Oh, never mind. She's that old.
She's a full decade.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep making barf noises.
Yeah, no. And it's pretty much said that she's done this to other little boys at some point. So it's... Yeah. To varying degrees of, I am gonna destroy your life. What's interesting about her, and I've always kind of thought this is like... And I think we were talking about how, like, there's a lot of elements here that don't make sense and are not explained. I think that part of the purpose of that is simply because life doesn't always get explained to you and doesn't always make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I always kind of thought to myself, and maybe this is something that might be explored later on in those later seasons, is that Haruko is part of a much larger series, and this is just a side arc for her, where she just... These is like a filler arc where she's going to come down here, do a thing, and none of these people are ever going to be seen again in her main series. And it's at least what it feels like a little bit. I don't know.
Have you seen Progressive and Alternative yet?
I haven't, but upon rewatch, I might give them a shot. I don't know entirely yet. I got some other things I need to watch on my watch list, especially coming up, because we got a few other things coming up down the line. But yeah, I think I might check them out. I think Production IG did them. This was done by Gainax, and I don't know entirely who on the staff would have later gone on to do Trigger, but this looks like a proto-Trigger show, like 100%.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
like,
you know,
watching Kill la Kill, I was very, very much reminded of this.
yeah, you watch Kill la Kill or Gurren Lagann or Promare was theirs, right?
Yeah, Promare.
Or even Evangelion. It's all kind of that same sort of, hey, there's a kid going through puberty. He's having a bad time. There are women in his life that create questionable relationships. He has to get in a robot.
There were so many similarities with Evangelion.
This is like, yeah, I honestly gotta say that Fooly Cooly is kind of like Evangelion minus the depression.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, the endings make about as much sense as each other.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, no. And yet I like Naota a lot more than I like Shinji or Holden Caulfield or a whole number. I don't know what
God, don't even get me started on Holden Caulfield.
I feel like I talked about this whenever I talked about this during our top 5 anime episode. I don't know, yeah, I feel like Naota's just like the more relatable. I'm not saying Holden Caulfield isn't relatable. I don't like him for some reason. I think part of it is he just doesn't want to do anything about his own situation. I feel like Naota does. At least by the end of the show, he wants to do something to make his life a little more interesting or a little better or do something. He wants to swing the bat, is the thing. And like, yeah, okay. I'm happy for you, and I want you to do that, and I want you to grow. And I feel like that's probably why he's one of the few like characters like that, like him, like Holden, like Shinji, where I actually like him by the end of the show. I don't know. You apparently have a thing about Holden Caulfield.
I when we read this book in high school, I did not like it, and the main reason I didn't like it was because of him.
Much like South Park, I was simply disappointed that there wasn't as much smut as I was promised. I mean,
what smut were you promised in this book?
I mean, you hear
it's been banned so many times.
You hear why it's banned.
That you think it's
for
dirty.
language and sex stuff and a bunch of other, and like I was literally like the kids in the South Park episode about this. They were like, "Oh my god, yes, let's go home right now and read it." And then, you know, you read it, you see, was fuck even in it? Or did they just say, like, ass or something? I think there was one scene.
There was a shit or something.
There was a shit.
There was the scene with Holden. Him and the sex worker were in the room, and he just wanted to talk to her.
Yeah.
And that wasn't bad, and I was like, huh, okay.
Yep.
It was like, I realized it was the 1950s, but...
It was probably racy for that time.
Maybe a bit, but even then, that was kind of wholesome. Just paying her money so she would talk to him.
Well, he didn't pay her money. That's why the pimp came back and beat him up.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but still. It was like he wanted someone to talk to. And I'm like, huh.
I'm just saying, for me, as a high school student who was promised a banned dirty book, I guess I just had higher expectations. Maybe that's the age I live in. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, for me, I didn't really have a lot of expectations going in. As I kept reading, I kept being like, why are you like this? I don't understand why you're like this. Why do you hate everything?
I mean, he's clearly depressed.
Yeah, very much so.
I understand that, but
I mean,
I don't know.
Naota is the same way, but
I think I get what you're saying. I think a lot of, like, for instance, Holden Caulfield's drives are mostly about, like, I don't know. He ends up feeling like he wishes he could protect children, or like protect children's innocence, and he wishes he could stay as a child forever because he feels that his innocence was broken and stuff like that. But he can never find a way to really like do that except through his sister, you know? So I think he ends up feeling kind of hopeless when he feels like his sister's growing up and he's growing up and he can't do anything about it. At least that's how I always read his sort of arc and desires.
I feel to some degree Naota's almost the opposite. I feel like he wants to be an adult, but he actually wants to be a mature adult, unlike every adult around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's different in that way. Even though they're both going through growing up, I feel like Holden wants to stay a kid forever, or wishes he could.
Yeah, he's got that Peter Pan problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess reading it as a teenager who, I don't know, was kind of really over sort of like trying to like continue to be a kid, I guess I found it kind of annoying. But I guess that was just me. I guess it was always because everyone sort of like, and this is me just quoting people that I've talked to or have at least told me this over the years, that I was very mature for a teenager. So to read about a teenager who wasn't on my maturity level and we were the same age, I think that's what got to me.
I think it's also notable that Salinger was also writing parts of this while he was in the war, and I think he wished for simpler times.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I could see that. So what was going on with the writers of Fooly Cooly?
Well, while you guys were talking about that, I was doing some research. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce their names because I'm going to butcher them. But the director of Fooly Cooly, he was an assistant director under Neon Genesis Evangelion, and the writer of what?
Well, he worked under Hideaki Anno?
Yes, he was an assistant director. He was basically his protege.
That makes sense.
And then the writer...
Hey, I'm going to do your show again, but happy.
And then the writer of the show, he wrote the anime adaptation, not the original mangas, but he wrote the anime adaptations for Ouran High School Host Club and Revolutionary Girl Utena.
I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's actually that's kind of the feel. It's Evangelion meets Ouran.
Evangelion meets Ouran meets Utena because there's a lot of pulling swords out of people's chest in that show. Yeah, it happens a lot.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Write
Utena,
what you know.
so
write what you know.
I'll take your word on it.
No,
it is definitely a lot of absurdist metaphors.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mostly about penises. Actually, like, we were kind of talking a little bit about that, you and me, about, like, what triggers the robots to kind of, like, pop out of his head.
Yeah.
And it's really, you know, sexual stuff might be an element, but a lot of it tends to come from, like, anxiety and shame.
I felt like it was definitely shame.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, embarrassment, too.
Like, because especially, like, if you look at episode 3, which I enjoy episode 3 because it kind of switches the perspective of who we're actually like watching a little bit. You get like normally the situation is always Naota's in a position of a bad situation and then something bursts out of his head. But he actually, in that episode, when the robot comes out, he kind of throws the embarrassment onto someone else and the robot comes out of their head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, metaphor for I guess like just general teenage angst.
At first, I was thinking definitely puberty, but then when that
it's 100% about puberty.
Right. But then when that episode came around, I was thinking, okay, yeah, it makes sense that'd be anxiety and embarrassment and stuff.
Yeah, because like even in the other 2 episodes before that, whenever the robot like starts bursting out of him, it's not because he's with Mamimi, but I don't think it's ever because he's attracted to Mamimi in those moments. I think the first time it was because he told her, yeah, my brother has a girlfriend in America. And she freaked out. And I think he was freaking out because she was freaking out. Because he didn't realize what was going on or what to do. And it busted out of his head. I think it was like, not like him having a panic attack, but a little bit like that. And then the second time is kind of the same thing, but for different reasons. She tried to kiss Conti, the robot, and I think he freaked out because, like, at that point he probably didn't admit it, but he liked her, and I think it might have hurt him to see her interested in someone else in that way. I think that's what made the robot come out of him the second time. I think very clearly for God, I forget what the girl's name was. The one voiced by Melissa Fan. The robot came out of her head because she was like, "Wow, you just called me out in front of the entire class that I did something I should not have done. I am beyond embarrassed, and there is a giant three-legged robot coming out of my head now."
The cat ears were weird, though.
Yeah, they made it weird.
That got awkward really fast.
Yeah. That was probably the weirdest it got, I think.
The stuff with the dad and the girl was
that
pretty
too.
weird.
I mean, I will say this, at the very least, it doesn't involve a child.
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
yeah, it's very over the top.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what metaphor. I think I know what metaphor they were going for in regard to beating your father over the head with a baseball bat because he's with the woman that you love, but it might be.
What do you mean by metaphor?
I don't know. Are we talking Oedipus complex or what's going on?
What?
The dad was with, air quotes, the girl that he liked, so I have to kill my father. I just gotta say, Freud must have had a really hot mom. Can we all just, like...
I saw somebody say that on Facebook or something.
Yeah, that's probably where I got it, but, like, can you really think about that for a minute? Maybe she was.
Yeah.
You never know.
Are there pictures?
I don't know if there's pictures of Freud's mom. You can go looking if you want. I'm just speculating. And as the person that I stole this joke from is speculating. I don't know. There's probably I was about to say there's probably a lot of Freudian stuff in here, but I don't know that it's Freudian because nothing's slipping. It's pretty blatant.
Yeah. It's mostly double entendres and I guess metaphors for stuff.
Yeah. So, I guess eyebrows are a sign of a very virile man. At least that's one man's
the guy
interpretation
with his
of it.
stick-on eyebrows.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we've been watching Naruto. We've seen real men with eyebrows.
Yeah.
Oh. He actually looks kind of like Gaara without the eyebrows. Red hair, no eyebrows. All he needs is the eye makeup.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, should we get into the bizarreness of why Haruko is there?
Sure.
So Haruko is on the hunt for the Pirate King of Space, who is a superpowered phoenix that can control NO, which is a hyperdimensional power where you can separate the functions of the left and right brain to create an opening in space-time, which Naruto is really good at, which I think is also an implication of he has a giant penis. And speaking of Freud, and apparently Atomisk, the space pirate king, has the biggest penis, the biggest hole, the biggest no of them all. And could apparently swallow up whole galaxies. And the whole reason Haruko is there is to catch him because she's a space cop, but really she wants to eat his power and take it for her own. So she's kind of evil when we really stop and think about this. I think she wants to take over the universe. That's the best explanation I can get. Also, Medical Mechanica is an intergalactic organization that sends giant robots through portals to attack planets and eventually destroy them. Going yet again to your Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, Evangelion references of, hey, more space alien monsters to come fight in my giant robot. Well, Kanti's not giant, but he is a robot who turns into a penis howitzer. And turns out to be part of one of the robots that will eventually iron out the wrinkles of the world, making it flat.
Wow.
That was an Evangelion thing, right? The Avas are angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot,
Yeah. This is a condensed Evangelion Oron
basically.
hybrid.
E.
It's fun though. What was your guys' favorite episode? I mean, like, we don't normally bring up that question. One, because we usually don't finish a series, and two, because, like, series are long when we do finish them. But, like, there's only 6 episodes here. What was your guys' favorite piece of this?
I don't really have a favorite, if I'm gonna be honest. Because even upon watching it as a second run through, or even, like, a third run through, I am still just kind of like, I feel like I'm just taking it all for the overarching plot of everything, so I don't really have a favorite part.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way as Chibi. I have funny favorite moments, but if I had to pick my favorite episode, I really couldn't do that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I feel like because I watched it all at once, I'm not even sure I could remember the separations between the episodes. I feel like they all kind of flowed into each other pretty well, so it kind of felt like watching a movie or something.
It kind of comes out to that. I mean, because it's like, what, 22, 23 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
6 of them. That's a little over 2 hours.
Right, so it kind of felt to me just like watching a movie in a way. So I'm not sure I necessarily had a favorite episode, but I thought it was a pretty good experience overall.
I think I liked, weirdly enough, episode 3, because it actually kind of presents the possibility of having a relationship that's what should actually be his speed with the girl who stays over at his house. And like, oh, someone who's actually interested in you. Why don't anime characters ever go for that one?
Wait, the other 2 girls are interested in a sense.
Okay, they were interested in a sense, but, like, you know that none of them were ever going to end up
Okay,
well.
yeah, it wasn't a realistic, like,
No.
we're gonna get together.
Like, you're not going to get together with Dirty Harry from space, and you're not going to get together with, I don't have a particular reference to make, with Mummy Me. So,
So, I feel like that is more just, like, yeah, it's something that's more his speed, and someone who actually does show genuine interest in him. But at the same time, like, I feel that a lot of anime characters, or at least a lot of characters in general, when presented with, like, an option that could actually work out well versus a couple of options that are a little more
Bad.
intriguing or spicy, I guess, always seem to have at least a bit more appeal, especially when you're trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah. I mean, that is more of a blatant theme in this, is trying to figure out who you kind of are, not just to yourself, but to other people, and that. I kind of think they were, like, doing that a lot in episode 5 with the giant skyscraper hand robot thing. Because I think that was, like, probably the first time that he was, like, really recognized by people. And, like, it really went to his head, but I guess that was the point where he was like, I knocked a satellite out of space, I'm shooting airsoft guns now, I'm gonna be confident, I guess.
Did you guys like how he kissed her at the very end of the show? Because I remember watching it thinking, really, he hasn't really shown any genuine, love for her, except for, being attracted to her whenever she was teasing him. But, like, I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere to me personally. I don't know how you guys thought about it. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
like, he's hugely a tsundere. I mean, practically everyone in the show is. That's his age, I guess.
I mean, to me, it kind of felt like that. Kids fall in love, quote unquote, with whoever likes them kind of thing, or whoever, like, shows them attention or is, like, interested or whatever. So it's like, I don't know that he was really in love with her or anything like that, but I think it was one of those, just how a kid reacts with like a love interest or somebody who likes them. But I don't know if that showed growth on his part, which is something that I wondered about. I'm not really sure.
No.
I think the main growth came in like episode 4 when he actually took the initiative to do something about the situation he was in. Even if his motivation was Haruko, he still stepped up to bat and swung.
Yeah, I wasn't always sure what to make of their relationship and whether it was supposed to be like a positive or a negative thing for him. But it seemed to often be portrayed like really positively, but I'm not sure. She was doing some pretty crazy shit towards the end, so...
Yeah,
Maybe it's just like life where you're just gonna have that experience and it's not positive or negative. I don't know.
I think that was always the thing, and I kind of brought that up on when in the other episode, was that like I think ultimately by the end, not everything that happened to him made sense. Not everything was good. Not everything was bad. But like he's okay at the end, and he's going to be okay. And it's kind of like, okay, life just happened to me big time, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, and I guess I'm just going to keep going and see what happens next. And I kind of feel like, at least my interpretation is that that's kind of what it's like. Yeah, everything at that point in your life seems like either the most embarrassing thing where there might as well be a robot jumping out of your head, or it's the end of the world as you know it. But you're still okay, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to get past it like everyone has to get past it. And then again, there's also some people who don't get past it, and they end up running an ineffectual government organization and taping eyebrows to their face. I don't know. I think that's like, it's kind of interesting to have an anime where it's like, where it ends, and the heroes are not triumphant, they're not utterly defeated, they're just, we're okay.
Yeah, he even said at the end, like, life's still boring, or whatever.
Yeah, but wasn't he like, life's still boring, but you can still find stuff that makes it interesting?
I don't remember. Did he say that?
I feel like it was something like that. I'm probably like not quoting it very well.
Maybe it was implied.
Yeah, that's at least what it feels like to me. Because here's the thing, he kept the guitar, and he tried to play it a little bit. He's trying to, maybe to some degree that's him still connecting to this event that happened to him. But at the same time, I think that's sort of a motion for him like, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go out and do some things. I'm going to hang out with friends. I'm going to live. Because despite it being the end of the world didn't end. I don't know. That's at least my interpretation. I should point out I've never really like looked up the deeper interpretations that maybe the authors have actually published about this, because I kind of just like mine. But I don't know. Maybe I completely missed the mark. Maybe it is just horniness.
I don't think so. I think there's definitely more than horniness, but I think it's all the other stuff that goes along with puberty as well, and growing up in general.
Shame.
Like shame,
Shame.
I feel like a lot of the metaphors for this Big Mouth just like said blatantly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have an erection. Let's sing a song about it.
That show's pretty weird.
I still gotta catch up on that. It's fun. I think we know who the ponytail killer is. If they haven't said it in the last season, don't spoil it for me, but I think we know. So,
characters.
Yeah, we can talk characters. I think we kind of went into Naoto a little bit already, and Haruko somewhat.
Mm-hmm. We talked a bit about Mamimi, but not a whole lot.
I thought Mamimi was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, she's interesting.
Like, she was very strange, but I think, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I found her strangely, like, interesting. And I think maybe... Yeah. And maybe it's because there's so much we don't know about what happened to her off screen, but I do feel like it's significant. Or, like, she has a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I kind of, sort of, when I first was introduced to Mamimi, I was kind of weirded out by her. more or less just because of her behavior towards this younger boy. But then, like, you kind of get into her backstory a little bit. I'm like, oh no, this girl has a lot of problems. Someone please get her a therapist.
Yeah, I think, like, ultimately everyone in this show needs a therapist.
Yeah, and I feel bad for her because it seems like everybody just thinks she's so weird, and then she's just, I don't know, ends up isolated, and she does just hang out with this younger kid and...
Or start fires.
Or
Or cults.
Whatever she's doing, you know, it seems like, I don't know, she got bullied or something, but...
Oh, she was definitely bullied.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, a lot was happening at once, but...
Yeah.
Somewhere in the shuffle, I did find her really interesting, and I think the contrast between her and Haruka is interesting as well. And, you know, I said, like, some of my uncertainties about Haruka as a character, but... I don't know. Like, I was hesitant to say, like, Manic Pixie Dream Girl or whatever, just because I think there are some other interesting things about her personality, and plus that term, I think, can just sometimes be taken badly as, like, you know, just insulting to, you know, people who are that way or whatever. Or, like, just, like, calling it a trope when girls are quirky or chaotic. So, I wouldn't necessarily use that, but I would say...
So I had an interpretation of her that I sort of thought of, like, recently, and I don't know if this interpretation of her is necessarily 100% accurate.
Yeah.
But I guess for a young, like, 12-year-old boy, I guess, like, a girl who rides a moped with a guitar, and has this crazy, insane, like, she's a space cop, is what she ends up being, that we find out later.
A dirty space cop.
Yes. What I sort of interpreted that as is that, very quirky, obviously, but just this older woman who's just very crazy and chaotic and also just very interesting, but in the craziness is kind of like sort of an appealing sort of thing because it's new, it's different, it's like, whoa, I can't believe there's someone out there that's actually like this, who has, like, insane aspirations because she wants to basically, like, take the space pirates' powers and, like, you know, take on the world and, you know, like, basically she's got a lot of crazy ambition, and to a young boy, that seems something that's, like, oddly, you know, very, very, like, appealing in a strong female character, you know, strong woman. If that's, like, an interpretation that can be taken, like, that's just something that I sort of thought of, but I don't know.
I could see that, like, because you were kind of saying that, like, Mamimi is someone that needs to be saved, and Haruko's kind of the person who comes in to save him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could either be the person being saved or the savior, depending on who you want to go with. Yeah. I was gonna be like, is this a Madonna whore thing kind of deal? But it doesn't feel that way.
No, because the other girl was clearly, like, flirting with him and didn't seem like...
I'm just saying there is a bit of a dichotomy there between the two of them. It's not that specific thing, but it is very much like a polar opposites that you're attracted to both.
I think it's, once again, that sort of, who do I want to be and what do I want? And how do I want other people to perceive me? Like, do I want to be a hero? Do I want to, you know, be helped or saved or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think it is more about him and how he wants to be perceived than even it is about the girls.
Yeah. How about Conti? He's a good robot, right?
Oh, yeah, the robot.
I like him. He doesn't have a whole lot of character. I think his, like, few things is, like, he's helpful, and he's kind of embarrassed that the back of his head is missing. Yep, nothing else about that.
Yeah.
I will say he's kind of, I guess, centric for episode 2, and I think episode 2 might be my favorite as far as art goes. I'm not always super into some of the ways that they design the characters, but I feel like any shot in the show has fantastic background work. And, like, I think especially in episode 2, they were kind of, like, given a bit of an art flex on some of those shots that they had of him with, like, flying and, like, the burned down schoolhouse and a bunch of other things. Like, I think the show looks really good, especially from that perspective. Trying to think. What else? to talk about. We've gone over art stuff. We've gone over trigger stuff. Some of the themes, a bit of the story, the characters. What's left? Music. What'd you guys think of the music?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's zany in all the right ways.
I like I know like you tend to like when you score something, it's you have like the same group doing it, but like I kind of like that they just got a band to be the entirety of the background and like all the music and stuff. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Bebop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know like what like as far as expenses go or whatever, like why more shows like don't feel like doing that. Like I just think that's like kind of a cool thing you sometimes do because it's consistent across the board no matter what song it is because it's all the same band. But like I like the different kind of feels you can get while still kind of retaining that same sort of like vibe.
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job with that. I think they brought the pillows back for the other seasons, so at the very least, I know I'm going to enjoy the soundtracks.
Yeah, I heard mixed things about the sequels. I heard most people say it wasn't as good, but I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be like a how many years later kind of thing.
Is it even about the same characters?
I doubt it. I don't know why it would be. I feel like Naoto's story kind of went full circle.
Yeah.
And like
I know Haruko's in both of them, so that's all.
Well, yeah, she's the main character who comes to wreck and rebuild people's lives through her insanity. Like, makes sense to me. Like, but yeah, I feel like it's probably just going to be situations of her just going to new people and affecting their lives in big ways, but we still don't know a damn thing about her by the end. Because she is the chaos of the universe incarnate. And you got to learn to live with the chaos. I don't know. Maybe there's a larger metaphor there. Everything's a metaphor. I think that's that. Does that cover about everything? Does anyone else have anything to bring up about it?
No.
Nope.
I don't.
Alrighty then. Well, that's there you go. Fooly Cooly. I still give it a yay. Where's everybody else on this?
Yeah, I would give it a yay.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a yay, if not at least a soft yay.
Yeah, even despite my complaints, I can recognize, that it is a quality show and that a lot of people would like it. So yeah, I give it a yay, even if I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yays all around. I feel like we should do that a little more. We call it anime yay or nay, and yet how long has it been since we've actually done like a yay, nay?
We did it in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was important.
That's probably the last time we did it.
We're going over our favorite shows, so like.
Oh yeah, everything's pretty much a yay. I feel like to some degree we could like ask like, oh, is it a yay or a nay for you? Because like I know this one's a yay for me, but like, same with next week when we go over Envy's number 3. Is it going to be a yay or a nay from some people? We know it's a yay for Envy. But, how's everybody else going to feel about it? Speaking of Envy, what are we watching next week?
We will be watching Fate's Day Night Unlimited Blade Works, the TV show version, not the movie version.
Very specific, very important.
Yes, because the TV show was made by Ufotable and is really good, and there was a movie that was made by Studio Dean that made the original 2006 that they tried to condense basically a 26 episode anime into a hour and a half movie. So yeah, needless to say, there was a lot of shit.
They Shyamalan'd it. They Shyamalan'd it hard.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But so yeah, we'll be watching. It's kind of weird. We usually watch 3 episodes, but there was like prologue that's called Episode 0. I forget what the official title is, but it's an Episode 0, but it's a prologue, so it's kind of vital to watch it. So I guess we'll be watching Episode 0 and then 1 and 2 then.
Yeah, so that's 3 episodes. So we'll be checking out that and another thing. Separate video, but another thing.
Yep.
Magi Record.
Yep.
Magic Record's coming out next week. It comes out in Japan on July 31st at 1 a.m., which is July 30th at 8 p.m. here, I think.
Woohoo!
Or maybe I got that completely wrong. I don't know. I feel like it
They're
shows up
13
July 30th.
hours ahead of us, so...
What was that?
They're 13 hours ahead of us.
I feel like my math is off, but some site had said to me that it's going to go live in Japan at 8 p.m. Eastern stateside. So we'll figure out watching that, and we should be able to have our thoughts on the first episode of Magic Record coming out same time as Unlimited Blade Works next week. So watch them both. Please do. Not often I put out 2 videos on the same day, so yeah. I think that's about it. And then after that, we're moving on to well, we're not moving on. We're more 3, and then moving on to 2s, and then 1s, and then other stuff, and then who knows? Nicolas Cage might be on the horizon. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know whether I'm serious about that or not. We'll have to like have a more serious discussion about that at some point. Yeah, so come back next week for Unlimited Blade Works, the show, not the movie, and the first episode of Magic Record. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series, Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!